Hello, everyone. Welcome in. It is Iain MacMillan and Matt Verderame here with you on the NFL Week 5 Sunday pregame show on Stacking the Box. Of course, if you are with us, give the channel a subscription and give us a thumbs up on the video as we're all sitting here watching the Packers and the Giants across the pond, a couple of 3-1 teams. I think everybody thought the Packers would kind of assert themselves in this game. The Giants really beat up. The Giants didn't need an inactives list because they were so beat up today. And yet it is 20-20 as we come up under 10 minutes. Saquon Barkley back on the field, by the way, for the Giants. That is good news for them. We will keep you posted on all things Giants and Packers. Ian, how you doing?
I'm doing well, my friend. I've hope for my Atlanta Falcons for the first time this season. So got a new Falcons shirt. I'm wearing it. I'm ready to go.
I love it. By the way, Saquon just caught a pass and ran 40 yards. So, the Packers my buddy and I used to have this is really lame, but my buddy and I used to joke around, is the pack back or is the pack whack? Well, right now, the pack is incredibly whack as they are allowing the – I mean, Barkley caught a swing pass and nobody touched him for 40 yards. So that's not ideal. Darnell Savage got like half of a hand on him. That was about it. So, look, let's get into it. We got a full slate of games for Week 5, plenty of action to get to. It's an interesting slate because in a lot of ways, when you look at these games, there's not a whole lot of like really intriguing matchups. Barkley, no, I'm sorry, not Barkley. I'm sorry, I kind of caught this out of the corner of my eye, but another Giants back just went for 12 yards in the first down. So they are now inside the 10. Matt Breida. Okay, well, let's get to the games that are going to go on later in the day. Let's, of course, start with the 1 o'clock games. And let's go to Foxborough, where Pat Patriot is making a triumphant return. It is the Patriots hosting the Detroit Lions. The Pats, a 3.5-point favorite. The over-under is 46.5. Who do you like in a game where both of these teams are desperate, sitting at 1-3?
Yeah, I'm just going to take the over in this game. I'd probably lean Lions if I was looking at the spread, but I just think this is I'm on a lot of overs this week, which kind of does scare me a little bit. I'm usually not a big totals better. I usually only have like 1 or 2 a week. This week, I think I have like 5 or 6. But the Lions, just a dream over team, obviously, leading the NFL in yards per play, in the bottom 5 in opponent yards per play. The over 6-0 in their games dating back to last season. Only team this season where the over is hitting all of their games. And the Patriots defense, not exactly as good as we're kind of used to seeing either. So I was surprised this total was actually still in the mid-40s. So I think we're going to see a lot of points in this one.
I am with you. By the way, the Giants third and goal inside the 1-yard line. I'm with you. I took the over as well. I got a 45.5. So I took the over. And I also agree with what you said. If I had to bet spread, I would have taken Detroit to cover. Like, I know that they've given up a ton of points, but Bailey Zappe's involved. I don't know how many points, but I think they're going to score enough that the over is still going to hit. And by the way, that play's coming back in the Giants. They got called for illegal formation. So this remains second and goal. And Brian Dable is I think about to commit a felony on the sideline. I'm with you. I'm taking the over. I think that's the right play here. The Lions score so many points every game that it feels like, I mean, they're not going to hit 30. And if they hit 30, well, it feels like the Pats are a good bet to get into the high 20s at minimum. So you'd clear the over by the end of the third quarter. I agree. I don't have a ton else to add on the game. I think it's one of those games that whoever wins, you feel like your season is saved. Whoever loses, off into the abyss you go. Let's go to what I think is actually a really interesting game. Not maybe a great game, but a really interesting game. And the line keeps moving down toward the middle. The Browns are at home. Apparently, by the way, if you've been following Twitter, with midges galore in Cleveland, playing the LA Chargers. The Chargers now 2-2, as are, of course, the Browns. The line was 3.5 all week for the Chargers. All week. Now it's 1.5 for the Chargers as of this morning. Total's 47.5. You and I are on the same side of this again. Who do you like?
Yeah, I'm on the Browns. I got them early in the week when it was at 3. So I got the Browns +3 here. I think this is I think styles make fights in the NFL, and I think this is one that the style of these two teams favors the Browns heavily. Chargers. First of all, I'm not even sure. Are we sure this team's good? I think we might have talked about this last week.
No, we're not.
I don't know if this team's good or not.
No, we're not. In fact, here's what I know about the Chargers. They're talented. I have no idea if they're
Right.
good. Those are two totally different things.
And I don't know if it's, just the play calling, the coaching. I don't know what's going on, but their biggest weakness is their run defense. Second last in the NFL in opponent yards per carry. So you can run on this team, and now they have to take on Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, two of the best, running back duo.
Yep.
It's probably the best running back duo in the NFL. So I think the Browns are going to be able to run all over this team. Bit of a bounce back spot after the loss to the powerhouse that is the Atlanta Falcons last week. I think the Browns at least cover. I can't see this not being a close game.
By the way, the Giants just scored a touchdown. Saquon Barkley around the rail, and with 6:08 to go in London, we'll see here. It's a shame. The extra point is up and right down the middle, 27-20 Giants, 6:08 to play in regulation. So here's my thought on the Chargers. I was doing a radio spot before we came on here, and I was talking about this game. I said, look, I know the Chargers are talented. I have no idea if they're good. And I use that line again. I am taking the Browns to cover. I got them at 2.5. I'm taking them to cover that spread. The Chargers, even if the Chargers are the superior team, they're the Chargers. So at some point, something will happen where this game will wildly swing momentum. Like last week's an example. And you won the bet, right? Because you got the Chargers to cover last week. I took the Texans. The Texans were down, I think it was 6 points, and the Chargers, it was 27-7. The Texans got within 6. Then the Chargers fumbled the kickoff. Everything in the world lined up for Houston, and then Houston became Houston and lost the game by 12 points. But you watch the game, and you're like, oh, my God, the Chargers are going to blow this game to Houston. This is impossible. Cleveland's better than Houston. And I don't know how they're going to block Myles Garrett in this game. They don't have good tackles with Slater being out. Keenan Allen's out. Dustin Hopkins, by the way, is out their kicker, which that seems concerning in a game where you're on the banks of Lake Erie. Okay, God knows if they're going to be able to kick a field goal. So I'm taking the Browns. By the way, I think the Browns are flat out going to win the game. I don't have enough guts to take the money line, so I took the spread. I think the Browns are going to beat them.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's keep rolling. Stay in the ACC. We just talked about this team actually. So Houston on the road taking on Jacksonville. Jacksonville coming off a loss in Philly, 2-2 on the year. Houston, the only winless team in the league, 3-1. Game is in Jacksonville at TIAA Field, TIAA Bank Field, excuse me. Jacksonville, a touchdown favorite, 7-point favorite. Total is 43.5. And I got to tell you, I'll start here as Rodgers just threw a ball that I'm pretty sure landed in Germany. So I like Jacksonville. I'll swallow the 7 points. I think Jacksonville's good. I think Jacksonville's a legitimately good team. I don't think they're great. I don't think they win the Super Bowl. I don't think they're going to go, 11-6. I think Jacksonville's like a 9-win team, which, especially compared to what they've been, is great. Houston is terrible. Houston is a terrible football team. We always talk, right? And I'm sure we'll talk about this more and more and more. Who's the worst team? Who's the number one pick favorite? All that kind of stuff. We'll get more into that as the year. It probably hits about the halfway point. Houston, even regardless of the fact that they only win those team, just the way they've looked. Now, I know they've played some tight games, but they got to be at the top of that list, right? I mean, them, Chicago, they're right there. So I like Jacksonville at home. I think Jacksonville wins this game going away. I think it's a 2-touchdown type game, something like that, 24-10. I like Jacksonville to win the cover.
Yeah, I'm on Jacksonville as well. It's kind of an ugly bet because 7 points is a lot, even though the Jaguars are much improved. I'm still a little cautious laying a touchdown on them against anybody. But yeah, you mentioned, I think the Texans are one of the worst teams in the NFL here. I'm just going to read off some stats. 24th in yards per play, 22nd in opponent yards per play, 31st in third down conversion percentage, which is a big stat that I look at when handicapping games. You got to be able to convert on third down. 20th in red zone offense, 22nd in QB sack percentage. They're bottom 10, bottom 5 in basically every single stat you look at. They're ugly. So I am laying the points of the Jaguars. Certainly not one of my more confident plays of the week, but I need to see more from the Texans before I can bet on them.
By the way, before we go any further, how did we do last week, and where do we stand?
Yes, I do have that up here. So last week, and don't forget, this doesn't include Thursday night because last week the first game already happened on Sunday because it was in London, so there's only 14 games here.
Right.
I went 8-5-1 plus 2.27 units. Matt, you went 6-8 for minus 2.34 units.
Shame.
That brings my total to 35-25-2 plus 6.49 units on the show. And Matt, you're down to 29-30 for minus 3.9 units.
I gotta tell you, I'm 29-30. I'm thrilled to death. This is why I don't bet. There's a reason. I analyze the games. I don't bet on them. I would be in the poorhouse. But 500, although I know a few units down, I'm actually not too upset about it. Staying in striking distance. All right. The NFC South lead up for grabs. Your Falcons on the road at Raymond James, looking to give the Buccaneers an 0-3 homestand. Of course, playing Tom Brady and the Bucs. The Bucs minus 500 on the money line. Your Falcons plus 370. The total 46.5. The Buccaneers laying 10 points. Do you believe in your Dirty Birds to cover? Do you believe in your Dirty Birds to win?
No, realistically, they're not going to win, but I am going to take them to cover here. I got them at a bad line. I got them early in the week at 8.5. I thought the line was going to move the opposite way. I'm surprised it's kind of gotten bigger. So I like the Falcons even better if you're looking at bet it now at plus 10. I think in order to lay this many points on a team, they have to be significantly better both on offense and on defense, and that's not the case for the Buccaneers. You can make the argument, yeah, maybe they have more talent, they have Tom Brady, they have better receivers, but statistically, and that's how I got to base my handicapping off of, statistically, the Falcons' offense has performed much better this season than the Buccaneers' offense has. Yes, Buccaneers' defense has been much better than the Falcons' defense, but we're talking about a lot of points to lay in an NFL game. So, and then obviously there's all the stuff going on with Tom Brady. Is that going to hurt him? Is that going to help him? Who really knows? But Falcons are 9th in the NFL in yards per play, 6th in yards per carry. No Cordero Patterson, obviously, but Tyler Algier has been fantastic in his rookie season through the first 4 weeks. And I just don't have any interest in laying this many points on the Buccaneers. I will say Tom Brady is 10-0 against the Falcons in his career. I would love to get a win against Tom Brady. Finally, I don't see it happening though. But with the spread way over a touchdown here, I'll take the points with the Falcons.
So last week we did something funny on this show accidentally. I believed in your team,
yeah,
and you didn't, and you believed in the Chiefs, and I thought the Chiefs were going to lose that game. Well, as it turns out, the Falcons won, and the Chiefs absolutely pummeled Tampa for 60 solid minutes. So this week, I go the other way. I'm taking Tampa to cover, and my main rationale is the Bucs are, I don't want to say desperate, but like they got to play a lot better. Like they've lost to the Packers. They got killed by the Chiefs. I thought the offense finally got healthy. They're healthy again this week. I like the Bucs to cover. I think it'll be a good game for a while, and I think it's one of these games where like the Bucs kind of as the game goes on, they just they get a turnover and they score, and then all of a sudden it's like they win by 13.
Yeah,
I almost took the over here because look, one thing that happened last Sunday night that I do think matters. The Buccaneers defense got run over like a freight train. I know it's the Chiefs. I get all that, but like. They had this aura of invincibility going into that game and left it with not so much of an aura of invincibility. So I like the over as well here, but I'm going to take the Bucs. I think they win. I think they cover. I don't think they cover by a ton. I think it's right around the number, but I will take them. I did get a high number at 10. So I'll lay the 10 points. I'll take the big favorite. I'll take the Bucs to win by, I don't know, maybe 11-13. In Buffalo, the biggest favorite of the year to this point, the Bills hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers not used to being a huge underdog, but they sure as hell are this week. The Bills are laying 14 points. They are minus 900 on the money line. The Steelers plus 600. The total is 45.5. Look, let's just put it out there. I don't know how deep we have to go into this one, but you and I are on the same side. We're both taking Buffalo to win and to cover, even though it is a huge spread.
Yeah, this was my first bet of the week as soon as the lines were released last Sunday because Buffalo opened at 13.5-point favorites. I wanted to get that before it went up to 14 because 14 is kind of a magic number, obviously 2 touchdowns. So I do got the Bills minus 13.5. I like them at minus 14 too, but if you look at stats, trends, if you look at anything that you would normally look at to determine what team you're going to bet on to cover a point spread, there's nothing that you can see that's going to convince you to bet on the Steelers here. If the only reason you're betting on the Steelers is because it's like a gut feeling, or that's pretty much it, because this Bills team is one of the best in the NFL. The Steelers are one of the worst. You have a rookie quarterback making his first NFL start up against the number 2 defense in the NFL. That's a recipe for disaster. A guy who threw 3 interceptions last week. Bills averaging 6 yards per play. Steelers averaging 4.8. Like, this is one of the biggest mismatches I've seen in recent history. So the only way you're betting on the Steelers is if it's like a gut feeling that you have.
Yeah, your gut feeling might mean you have some kind of an illness. You need to go to seek an ER stint. And if you're a Steelers fan, you might need an ER stint after this game. They're going to get killed in this game. I know Tomlin has a history as an underdog of being a very, very good coach. Like, that to me is the argument. Tomlin is just going to find a way to keep this close. Here's the problem I have with that argument. Have you seen the Steelers offense? The Steelers offense is so bad, it is embarrassing. They can't move the ball for a yard. Kenny Pickett did not do much after he relieved Trubisky at halftime. It wasn't like they did nothing when Trubisky was in there, and then Pickett came in. All of a sudden, they were great. Like, Pickett came in immediately, threw 3 interceptions. I know one was on a Hail Mary, so okay, fair enough. But he did not look good. The Steelers can't block. I don't know if you've been watching the Bills. They have a pass rush, so that's not exactly ideal. It's on the road. Here is the one path for Buffalo not to cover this game, in my opinion. Pittsburgh just getting to Allen throughout the game. The Bills, if they have one weakness, their offensive line's not great. It's not terrible, but it's just average. It's okay. That's the path. And frankly, without TJ Watt, the Steelers have not had a great pass rush. So I don't believe in that. I think they got the blitz, and if they blitz, who's covering? Like, who do they have at corner who you're like, oh, that guy's a great corner? I think Buffalo wins this game big. I think this honestly could be something like 34-7. I don't even think this game is remotely close. We'll see. Maybe we're all laughing at ourselves in 4 hours when, the Bills score 17 points and Kenny Pickett, goes for broke and they win. But I feel like this either goes like the Bills win by like 30 points or somehow like Pittsburgh wins the game outright. Like, just every weird thing in the book. But yeah, I'm on Buffalo all day long. All right, let's stay in the AFC East. The Jets are at home at 2-2, hosting the 3-1 Miami Dolphins. Now, of course, Miami's beat up. No Tua Tagovailoa. He is out with a concussion. Don't know how long he'll be out, but he's out certainly for this week. The Dolphins are 3.5-point favorites. That line hasn't moved really at all week long. The total's 45.5. How do you fall on the Jets and the Finns at the Meadowlands?
Yeah, the spread hasn't moved all week, but the total has. I got it all the way down to 43.5, so that's gone up 2 points. I probably still like the over here. The over is, I think, 1-3 in the Dolphins' first 4 games, which is strange. And I think we're going to see a stretch of over bets hitting, because if you look at their stats, they're what you would look for if you're betting on a team to go over their total, because they're one of the best offensive teams. 6.4 yards per play this season, ranks in the top 5. Their defense 28th in opponent yards per play. Obviously, Teddy Bridgewater isn't as good as Tua, but I don't think it's that big of a step down either. So I don't think, either. Yeah, I still think their offense is going to move the ball. Their defense still stinks. It's really that simple for me. It's a total in the mid 40s with it in a game involving a team that has a top 5 offense and a bottom 5 defense. So to me, I'm just going to root for points. It's going to be interesting to see how Zach Wilson does, because Zach Wilson actually looked pretty solid last week in that little come from behind win against the Steelers. 6.9 yards per pass attempt. So he performed better than Joe Flacco did the first few weeks. So it'll be interesting to watch that. But other than that, you don't seem to think so. You think Zach? What are your thoughts on Zach Wilson?
I thought Zach Wilson stunk.
He let it come back win. He did what he had to do.
Yeah, I mean, he did. He was also like 6 of 18 with 2 picks at one point. Like, I mean, the only reason you're in that game is because you're playing the legendary tandem of Trubisky and Pickett. Like, if he plays like that against 90% of teams, they're going to lose. By the way, if you're not keeping up on this, we are coming down to it in London. 1:11 to go in regulation. The Packers have a 3rd and 2 at the Giants 6. So high drama here. We'll get right back to this Jets Dolphins game. If the Packers score, do they go for 2?
I don't think so. I think they're the better. I think when you're the better team, you take it to overtime.
I agree with you. I'm with you, Lane. Here at third, and it's really about a yard and a half. Not to try to break every FCC rule in the book here. But
I'm on
third.
Giants +8, so I'm laughing. I've won my bet at this point.
Well,
so
Rodgers almost just got picked off. They batted it straight up in the air, and a linebacker dove, and if he had caught it, it would have been the end of the game. So now it is last chance saloon for the Packers at 4th and 2. But yeah, you're feeling good. Actually, I think took the Giants to cover this game. So not of course I didn't actually bet real money. So what the hell does it matter? All right, I took for the Dolphins and Jets here quick. I took the over. I think it's going to be over 45.5. Look, the Dolphins have stunk defensively all year long. They have talent, so it's kind of weird. I don't get quite why. Maybe it's coaching change, different thing. I like the Dolphins to score a lot of points this game. I think the Jets will score enough too. I took the over. Or excuse me. Am I out of my mind? Let's look at the sheet here. No, I'm an idiot. I took the Jets +3.5. I actually love the over as well. And by the way, 4th down, pass got batted up in the air. Good night.
Giants won.
Giants win.
Oh, what a disaster.
Whoa, my God. You imagine you went all the way from friggin' Green Bay to London to lose that game. My buddy, by the way, just drank every Bloody Mary he's got in the house. Oh, my God. The Giants, I got to tell you, coming into this game, I mean, I'm a New Yorker. Like, all my buddies are Giants fans. I'm certainly not a Giants fan. I'm a Chiefs fan. But if the Chiefs aren't good, like as they weren't most of my life growing up, I casually root for the Giants, so I'm very happy for them. By the way, Wink Martindale, God bless him. He brought 8 guys on that blitz. He brought every single guy that was in a man coverage. And they got up and they were able to deflect it. It was Xavier McKinney got a hand on it. They were going for a fade in the corner to Lazard, and it never got there. But no, what I was going to say is, I went into this day feeling like, all right, the Giants, like, fine. They're decent. I got to hand to the Giants. The Giants are, like, maybe better than I really gave them credit for. That's a real win to beat the Packers. It's a real game. And the flip side of that is, like, the Packers, what's going on? Like, you barely beat Bailey Zappi last week at home in overtime, and you can't beat the Giants?
That's why I took the Giants to cover the spread, not to stay too long in this game, but it's like the Packers are the Packers they used to be, especially defensively. Everyone talks about how good the Packers defense is. They're not good. They're like average to below average defense so far this season. So
I was one of those people who I picked the Packers to go to the Super Bowl, A, because I don't think anybody in the NFC is particularly great, but B, because I really felt like, look, they have 7 first-round picks on defense. Like, they've got to be decent. No, as it turns out, no, they're not. They're not. Like, they can't stop anybody unless they're the Bears. And the Giants in an odd decision are kneeling down on the ball inside their own 5-yard line, even though the Packers have 2 timeouts. So they're going to have to punt the ball back here. Now they're not going to have to punt until there's about 15 seconds on the clock. So I'm not saying they're giving them like a minute and a half, but they're still giving them the ball. And they've got to punt out of their own end zone. So that's going to be interesting. Okay. But I took the Jets in this game here at +3.5. I thought I took the over. I like the over, so I like your bet. I think the Jets are going to cover this. I think they're going to lose by like a field goal. So I like the hook there. Speaking of the NFC North, we've got Vikings and Bears in Minnesota. Vikings laying 7.5. -360 on the money line. Total's 43.5. Look, we can just smack this thing right down. Right, this is easy. I think we both feel the same way on this. The Vikings have to win this game by more than a touchdown. Now, the scary part is they're the Vikings. They're the NFC's answer to the Chargers. All things are in play here. Anything could happen. However, the Bears are mortified of letting Justin Fields throw a pass. Absolutely, like beyond words, terrified of him. Terrified. If the Vikings can't win this game by more than a touchdown at home, they should quit. I don't know, especially in that. Like, they know that the Packers just lost. If they win, they're up in the division by a game with a breaker. So I think the Vikings are going to earhole Chicago. I think Chicago, look, I know they're 2-2. I don't think Chicago's clearing 4 wins. So I like the Vikings to win and to win pretty big.
Yeah, this is a game where I just looking at the line, I wanted to find a reason to actually bet on the Bears because this game seems so obvious. I think the Bears, it's one of those ones that it's so obvious. I think the Bears just somehow find a way to cover, but I got to rely on statistics. That's how I decide who to bet on. And the thing with this matchup is the Bears run the ball a ton, as you mentioned, but that's kind of the strength of the Vikings defense. The Vikings can stop the run pretty well. They just can't stop the pass. 29th in opponent yards per pass attempt. Yep. So if the Bears refuse to throw the ball, then they're just going to play right into the Vikings defensive strength. They're around middle of the pack and stopping the run. So I want to bet the Bears because my gut is screaming at me. They find a way to cover this, but there's not a single stat I can find to back that pick up. So I just have to follow the numbers, and I'm going to lay the points with the Vikings.
Yeah, you have to. You just have to, right? I mean, what have the Bears shown you that you're like, yeah, they're going to be able to score 20 points in this game, 17 points? It's just nothing. The answer is nothing. We're going to stay in the 1 o'clock window. 2 more games. I'm not going to lie to you. 2 games I'm not excited about. 2 games I don't plan on watching a whole lot of. Washington at home against Tennessee in a game that only a mother can love. Tennessee is laying 1.5 on the road. The total's 42.5 on the low totals of the week. I didn't touch the spread. What are your thoughts on this game and how you see it?
Yeah, I hate this game. These are probably my 2 least favorite teams in the NFL. I do not want to watch a second of this game. I hate the Titans. I hate their fan base. The Washington fan base I got into it this season because I predicted they were going to be the worst team in the NFL, and I might be right through the first 4 weeks. So what I'm going to do with this game is I'm just going to bet the over. When I don't know what to do, I just take the over. And both these defenses are not good enough to justify a total of 42.5. The offenses aren't great either, but the 2 defenses are ranked 25th and 30th in opponent yards per play, 28th and 30th in opponent yards per pass attempt. Like, I need to see at least average defenses for a total this low in the low 40s. So I'm just gonna root for points in this one because I don't want to watch a second of it. I want to just check my score app, see that the total's gone over, and move on with my day.
I'm with you 100%. I'm taking the over as well, and I had the same number you did. I'm not going near this game as far as the total, or excuse me, as far as the spread. I think Tennessee ought to win, but like it's one of those games. If you bet one of the sides, you're invariably going to be furious the entire afternoon. Like turnovers, dumb mistakes. By the way, the Giants are going to take a safety with 10 seconds to go, 27-22. I don't know. What was the total for this game?
It's already over.
Okay, I was going to say, because sometimes you get plays like that that just ruin somebody's life.
Yeah, it's already over.
I was just, okay. All right. I was just curious. All right, so listen, I'm with you. I take the over. It's just one of these games. Like I don't trust either of the quarterbacks. I don't trust either of the offenses. The defenses haven't been particularly great. Like root for points. I'm 100% with you. No reason to belabor it. Last 1 o'clock game of the day, the Saints at home against the Seahawks over at the Caesar Superdome. Say that 5 times fast. This is the line I don't get more than any other line of the week. I just do not understand this. The Saints are 5.5-point favorites in this game. The total, so I think the total's fine, is 45.5. Can you explain to me why the hell the Saints are laying 5.5 points in this game?
Well, I think maybe their offense has actually done better than what their points per game show because they're only scoring 19 points per game. But if you look at yards per play, they're actually 8th in the NFL, gaining 6 yards a snap. And the Seahawks defense has been the worst defense in the entire NFL. They stink. Last in opponent yards per play. Yeah. So I think maybe that's the case. But I also, if I was going to bet on the spread, I'd probably still take the points with the Seahawks. But I'm going over here, and this is the best early line I got of that because the totals moved 3 points. It opened at 42.5 last Sunday. And I was like, a total of 42.5 for the Seahawks? So I pounded the over there. It's all the way up to 45.5. I'd probably still go over at the current number because Seahawks, much like the Lions, and we saw it when the 2 teams played against each other last week and they scored 200 points. They're just no better's dream. They're moving the ball a ton, can't stop anyone on defense. They made the Falcons offense look like one of the better offenses in the NFL 2 weeks ago. And like I said with the Saints, they haven't been scoring a ton of points, but they're moving the ball. So I think points are going to come. I think Andy Dalton actually looked better than Jameis Winston did in the early parts of the year. So I actually like that Andy Dalton's playing for the Saints now. So I love the over in this game. But yeah, if I was looking at the spread, I'd probably lean Seahawks. I think 5.5 might be a point too big for me. So I'm just going to go with the over though.
So I might almost take Seattle in this game outright. The Saints have been bad. The Saints have been really bad. By the way, here, just one last addendum. 27-22, 7 seconds to go. The Packers have the ball. They're on 41, and the Hail Mary King is looking to drop back and give it a heave, but he won't get that opportunity because the Packers just jumped offside, or excuse me, a false start rather. So now they're back to their own 36, and it is going to be the heave of all heaves after Bakhtiari jumped. So look, I'm taking Seattle to cover. Obviously, I just think I don't know that I think Seattle's better, but I don't think the Saints are better. I think this is they're both just run of the mill, whatever. They can win a week here, they'll lose any week there. I think the Saints are probably more talented, but the Saints have been awful. The Saints have not looked. I mean, they made the Panthers look competent. So I'm taking Seattle plus 5.5. Whether or not they win, I don't know. But I like them to cover. By the way, here, we are going to finally get what I believe is the final play of this game. Rodgers is running around in a hilarious way. He got rocked as he threw the ball. In fact, he fumbled the ball, as it turns out. Rodgers got hammered at the end of this game. Just want to see if he gets up. I think he's slowly getting me. He got up. He's all right. Game's over. He got that. He'll be feeling that hit on the plane ride home. That is, I'll tell you, if you don't like the Packers, you're having a good morning. Boy, that's a tough one. That's a home game, by the way, for the Packers, for those unaware. So, Brian Dable, happy as can be, running off the field, 4-1. The G-Men.
4-1 New York Football Giants. How about that?
G-Men, 4-1. And Daniel Jones, 21-27 in the game. Getting it done. Danny and hurt, by the way, playing hurt. So getting it done. Kudos to the Giants. I got to tell you, I love to hire Dable this offseason. I got receipts to prove it. I wrote about it. I thought he was going to be a really good hire for them, and he has looked like a great hire for them. They have a real program going. Love what I'm seeing out of them. Love it. Love the fight. And yeah, boy, I'll tell you, Rodgers, oh my God, he got absolutely crushed on the blind side. But in any event, look, we can move on from this game. We can go into the later games. Okay, staying on schedule. Just mention the Panthers. They are at home this week, taking on the 49ers. The 49ers are only laying 6.5. That line has jumped and jumped and jumped. You did a great job getting on this line early. I did not. I don't think it's going to matter, though. The total is 39.5. You feel like the 49ers are going to cover this spread?
Yeah, I would sure hope so. This is the best defense in the NFL. They're on a historic pace, this defense is. And now they're going to take on Baker Mayfield and the Panthers offense, which has been one of the worst offenses in the entire NFL. But yeah, Monday morning, I bet on the 49ers at -4 because I had the 49ers beating the Rams that night. I figured if they did beat the Rams, the line was going to move. So I got it before that Monday night football game. Obviously, I ran the risk if there's any major injuries or if the 49ers lost. But I took a little bit of a risk. It paid off for me because it opened up Tuesday morning, up 2.5 points to 6.5. But anything under a touchdown, I like the 49ers here. Their defense is too dominant. They now have the highest sack percentage in the NFL. And the Panthers are, I believe, 28th in QB sacked percentage, giving up a sack on... Had the number in front of me, I lost it. But they're giving up a ton of sacks. Now the 49ers have the best pass rush. They have the best defense. Their offense can look bad at times, like we saw 2 weeks ago against the Broncos. And the Panthers' defense is pretty decent as well. But I think if they score 14 points, then that's it. That's all they need to win this game. So I'll lay the points with the 49ers. And the 49ers are my survivor pool pick as well, if anyone's still in a survivor pool.
Let me just be blunt about this. The Panthers suck.
Yeah, they stink.
The Panthers suck. That is a god-awful football team. By the way, their schedule next handful of weeks, the Niners, the Rams, and the Bucks, they're going to be 1-6. Okay? They stink. I would be willing to bet that Rhule is going to get fired after that stretch of games.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think Rhule is going to be the first coach fired this year.
He has to be, right? I mean, and by the way, did you see, somebody, I saw this is the Rich Eisen show, to give credit. They played a clip of Matt Rhule. And some reporter asked him at a presser, have you been contacted by college teams about coaching vacancies? And he's like, I'm the Panthers head coach. It's like, that's not a no.
Right.
The word no was not involved there, as Eisen pointed out, but I also noticed immediately in watching that clip. There was no no way, I'm not interested. It was almost like, I'm the Panthers coach, but I also know that real estate's about to be in my future. So, like, hey, listen, if you're out there, Oklahoma, and you need a coach after getting beat 49-0 by Texas. By the way, do you bet college games?
Yeah.
You know, okay, I wasn't sure if you're a college guy or not. The Big 12, not a good conference. Like when they get to a bowl, when it's bowl season, just bet against whoever the hell's playing the Big 12 every week. Like, I don't care who it is. Those teams are awful. And,
yeah, I'm not as big of a college guy as I am NFL guy, but I do bet on it. But yeah, Big 12's bad.
No, but by no means. I mean, I'm casual all day long with college, unless it's like we're talking about the NFL draft, because then they pay me to watch that stuff. But I my God, man, you watch these games, and it's like Texas sucks and beat Oklahoma by 49 points. And then, like, locally here, Illinois, everybody's like, Illinois won. They beat Iowa. And, it's 9-6. Like, oh, my God. Like, it's just not even real teams. Paul Christ is out in Wisconsin. Like, what a disaster in the heartland. All right. I am with you, but I think the Niners are going to kill Carolina. I think, honest to God, I think they might beat them something like 27-3. Baker Mayfield's QBR is 15 right now. I don't know what you do with that. He is so bad.
And they played against the Cardinals last week, which has one of the worst. Like, I was on the Panthers because I was like, well, they can move the ball against the Cardinals, and they made the Cardinals look like the 85 Bears.
Took the Cardinals money line. I knew better. I saw Baker. Look, I am to the point. They've played the Cardinals. They've played the Browns. Both those games at home, by the way. They've played the Saints, who are atrocious to this point in the year. I can't do anything. Cannot do anything. I can't even think of the fourth opponent. Who the hell? They beat the Saints. I don't even know the other game they lost to us. I mean,
Giants. They lost to the Giants.
Right. And MetLife. They've been bad, man. They have been bad. And by the way, just in case you're wondering how bad this could get, this is a home game for Carolina. Okay. The Giants game was the road game. Other than that, the Cardinals at home, the Browns at home. This is the fourth home game in 5 weeks, and they're 1-3 and can't score a point. So looking good, guys. Keep it up. All right, let's go late window, 425 window. Arizona at home against the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. The 48.5, the highest of the day. The line is 5.5. I haven't seen it move at all. Maybe it moved a touch at the beginning. But Philadelphia trying to run a truck at the 5-0. Arizona 2-2, and everybody's leading the NFC West. So co-leaders of the NFC West at 2-2. Do you like Arizona to cover, or do you think Philadelphia handles business?
Yeah, the line moved half a point because I got the Eagles at -5 here. So it has moved half a point. But this is a game where it's all gut versus numbers for me because my gut is screaming at me to take the Cardinals because this just seems like a classic spot where a team nobody expects to win is going to at least make it close here. But like I've said a couple times, like I just need to follow the stats. That's what's got me here in the first place. I got to follow the numbers. And the Cardinals have stunk this season. 29th in yards per play, 27th in opponent yards per play. You signed Kyler Murray to this massive contract in the offseason. Now you're third last in the NFL, or fourth last in the NFL in yards per play. Your offense is atrocious. Defense isn't any better. And the Eagles, this 4-0 record that they have is not fraudulent. They're statistically also top 5 in both yards per play and opponent yards per play. I said in the offseason, the two things that need to happen for the Eagles to take the next step is they need to get a pass rush, and Jalen Hurts needs to take a significant step forward. Both of those things have happened through the first 4 weeks. Second in sack percentage so far this season are the Eagles. They have a pass rush. Jalen Hurts, MVP candidate through the first 4 weeks. I just love this Eagles team. I'll lay the points with them, but I will say my gut is screaming at me to take the Cardinals because this just seems like a result of a game that's not going to make any sense.
So I got to tell you, I mentioned this a few times, so I'm a shameless plugger. Listen, I wrote about the Eagles offseason back in July, right before camp, and I talked to sources around the league and around the team, and I went deep into why they did what they did. I loved their offseason. And the reason I wrote the piece, I thought they had the best offseason in football. And my favorite signing that any team made this entire offseason was Hassan Reddick. Nobody's more underrated as a pass rusher than Hassan Reddick. Nobody. I think in the last 2 years, like prior to the season, I think he had 23.5 sacks. And he's on 2 different teams doing it. And he's in his mid-20s. Like, why that guy doesn't get more shine, I have no idea. He's a really good player. And when you add him into a front that has Hargrave and Cox and Sweat and everybody, I mean, that's a real group up front. And offensively, they can give it to you. And defensively, too, they got corners. You got Slay and Bradbury with that pass rush, you're talking. Do I think the Eagles are perfect? No. Do I think they're the best team in football? Right now, I think you got to give it to them. Now, do I think they'll be the best team in football come January? I don't know. I'm taking Philly here. I had the same gut reactions you did. I was going to say, you know what? Cardinals to cover. Look, at some point, Philly's going to lay an egg. It's on the road. It's cross country. The Cardinals are weird. Like, they're talented. They're weird. But you know what? I'm going to ride with Philly until the wheels fall off here. I'm just going to take him. I'm going to take him again. And it's one of those games, too, if you're betting real money, right? If you bet this game and you're like, I got a gut feeling on the Cardinals, and then the Eagles drive right down the field and score a touchdown, you're like, son of a bitch.
Right.
Like, why? Why in the world did I do that? You're in deep emotional pain the entire rest of the day. So I'm with you. I'm riding Philly. I got him at 5.5. I take him at 5.5. All right. Let's go to the last game in the 425 slot, 4 o'clock window. The Rams at home in what is going to be a road game for the Rams against the Cowboys. This is a game you and I are on opposite sides of. The Rams are currently favored by 5.5 of them, 4.5 total, 42.5. Of course, the Rams are 2-2. The Cowboys are 3-1. Cooper Rush is starting again. He is 3-0 to this point in the year. The Rams coming off of a loss. What say you about the Cowboys and the Rams at SoFi?
Yeah, I'm going to lay the points with the Cowboys here, or with the Rams in this one. I think this is a huge buy low, sell high spot on these two teams. I think it's a big buy low spot for the Rams and sell high spot for the Cowboys. First of all, the Cowboys, hey, no one has defended Cooper Rush more than me. I said even before his first start, I said this guy is better than people are giving him credit for. He's done what he's had to do to get wins. But at the end of the day, they've had a fairly easy schedule the past couple of games, and they still rank 30th in third down conversion percentage, 20th in yards per play, 20th in red zone touchdown percentage. So their offensive numbers, despite them doing enough to get wins, still not that great, especially against some weak competition the past few weeks. And then you have the Rams, the Rams' offense has looked atrocious. Their offensive line is toast. They're missing Andrew Whitworth terribly, but let's not forget 2 of their first 4 games were against literally the 2 best defenses in the NFL. Right now, the 2 best defenses are the Bills and 49ers, and it's not even close. And they had to take on those 2 teams in 2 of the first 4 weeks. So the Rams get a chance now to take on some inferior opponents. They're going to start looking better as the weeks go on, I think. So I think this is a buy low spot for them. I think it's a sell high spot on the Cowboys. I'll lay the points.
So I have a very, very complex theory about this. The Rams can't block anybody.
No, that's my theory. Yeah. That's my big concern is the pass rush against the Rams. Yeah.
Micah Parsons under over today. What is it, about 9.5 on sacks? The Rams, if I lined up, I think I might be able to get a pressure. I mean, not really. But you get the point. Okay. They are horrible up front. And DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons are going to be getting after him all day long. I can't believe in them right now. By the way, Allen Robinson is single-handedly murdering my fantasy team. So he's then been nailed to the bench because he just can't take it anymore. The man's on pace for like 400 yards receiving. Is he just is he cooked? You watch him in these games, like he just never gets open. There's never like an ounce of separation. Nothing's happening. Of course, your Falcons donated a nice game to him, but other than that, that's been about it. I'm taking the Cowboys to cover this game. It's going to be a home game. Give 70,000 Cowboys fans in that building. Like I've never been more embarrassed for a franchise than when, by the way, what, Hell's Angels just rolled by the apartment?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, fair enough. By the way, you're up in Toronto, correct?
No, I'm in New York. I'm in Manhattan.
Oh, you're in New York. I'm sorry. I know you're Canadian. For some reason, I thought in my head. Oh, I know why. I'm sorry. I don't mean to bring this up, but I thought so because I know you're a Blue Jays fan.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Tough game yesterday.
Listen, man, if it makes you any better, I'm an Oakland A's fan, which, by the way, they couldn't suck any worse. Secondly, my entire life has been that playoff game. Okay? Every year they're in the playoffs, it's like taking a sledgehammer to the nuts. Okay, and just like the worst imaginable way to lose a game. So I feel for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Maple Leafs in hockey. I'm a Blue Jays fan in baseball. I'm a Falcons fan in football. So if there's anyone who knows something about blowing leads, it's me.
How did you become a Falcons fan?
When I started watching football, I created a player in Madden, the video game, put him in the draft, and said whatever team drafts my player. And this is back in like 2004, and the Falcons drafted him. So I started cheering for him. And there's no Canadian NFL team, right? So you have to choose someone.
You should file a lawsuit against EA Sports. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's tough.
Well, but are you from Toronto?
No, I'm from the East Coast. I'm from Nova Scotia.
Oh, okay. I was curious because Maple Leafs, and I got you. I will say that I've been to Toronto about a half dozen times. My favorite city in the world to visit. I love Toronto.
I was there in the summer for a bit. I do like Toronto. Yes,
it's a great city.
Nice city.
But yeah, man, you guys, deep pain. All right, look. Dallas 5.5. I just think I don't know if they're going to win outright because I don't know that the Cowboys can block Aaron Donald and company either. But the Rams just right now, it's just a whole lot of, hey, where's Cooper Kupp? Let's fire it to him. I don't know. Is anyone else alive? No, not really. It's Cooper Kupp or it's Ben Skoranek. Well, Coop, hope you're open, bud, because here it comes. 27 times a game. I'll take the Cowboys to cover. All right. Sunday Night Football. This to me is the best game of the entire day.
Yeah.
AFC North clash. The Ravens at home taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, both teams 2-2. Could be for the outright lead in the division, depending on what happens with Cleveland. Could also just be for a share of the lead with Cleveland if Cleveland's the win against the Chargers. Baltimore, a 3-point favorite. Now, a lot of the week it was 3.5. It is now 3. The total's 47.5. I'll lead here. Look, I wrote a feature about this on Fansided, I think on Thursday. The Bengals destroyed the Ravens last year. Both games. Now, the Ravens were really beat up. It's got to be said. But they weren't that beat up defensively the first time they saw each other. And Burrow went for a 41-17 win. He threw for 1,000,000 yards. It was 420. Chase had half that, essentially, 200 some odd yards and 2 touchdowns. The Bengals just torched them over and over and over. Now, different defensive coordinator, not going to blitz as much if you're Baltimore. I understand all that. The Ravens defense has been atrocious this year. If they can't force a turnover, they can't get off the field. They can't stop anybody. So I really like the Bengals. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm taking the Bengals plus 3.5. And I'll tell you what, I didn't have the guts, although I think I actually did my pick, so I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. But I think the Bengals are probably going to win the game. But I took the Bengals to cover. I took the safer bet, plus 3.5. I think the Bengals are going to win, but I love them getting 3 and a hook.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I did have the guts to take him to win outright. This is my upset of the week. I'm taking Bengals. I got them when the line was a little bit better earlier in the week, plus 155 here. But yeah, I think the biggest thing, and you kind of alluded to this, is the difference in the two defenses. Ravens' defense has been terrible so far this season. Cincinnati's defense, surprisingly good. I think they're like 11th in opponent yards per play, so top half of the NFL. And the biggest kryptonite for the Bengals, we all know this by now, has been their pass protection so far this season, but the Ravens are 28th in sack percentage, so they're not really getting much of a pass rush. So that shouldn't hurt the Bengals too bad. But yeah, I think the Bengals offense is starting to get a little bit of momentum now, but it's just the two defenses are night and day. So I'll back the team with a much better defense. Bengals plus 155.
I think the Bengals are better.
Yeah,
I think they're a better team. And this coming from somebody who, by the way, I think Baltimore's a good team. I picked Baltimore in the preseason to win double-digit games, to be right there. I thought they wouldn't win enough to be a wildcard team. And I still think that. The Ravens, the thing that scares the hell out of me with the Ravens is everything has to be done by Lamar. Everything.
Yeah.
Can't stop anybody. He's clearly their best runner. Obviously, he's going to be throwing the ball. If they don't just get everything out of him, like if he doesn't combine for 400 yards, they can't win. And against good teams, that doesn't play. That doesn't work. I'm not saying you can't win a game like that, but you're not going to win consistently against good teams playing like that. You're not. They scored 20 points against the Bills largely because they got 2 gift turnovers. Okay, on the plus side of the field, they couldn't do shit the whole rest of the game. Couldn't do anything. Couldn't score a point in the second half. Lamar threw for less than 40 yards in the second half. I don't care who you are. If you're the only guy that can beat the other team for 60 minutes. At some point, the other defensive coordinator goes, guys, number 8, he's pretty decent. We might want to keep an extra guy on him. Okay, the game's over because DeMarcus Robinson is your number 1 receiver anytime Bateman's covered. Not good. All right, let's finish her off with the game everybody's waiting to hear. Of course, I'm sure. Chiefs, Monday Night Football, coming off the big win. I never doubted it for a minute. They are at home for the next 5 weeks, by the way. They're at home. They're at home against the Raiders. The Chiefs laying 7.5. The total's highest of the week, 51.5. The Chiefs money lines you see on the screen, minus 330, and the Raiders plus 265. And you and I are on opposite ends of the spectrum here.
Yeah, I was on the Chiefs to win and cover against the Buccaneers last week, but I think the spread's a little bit too big for me. This is my ugly bet of the week. This is the one that when I click submit on it, I'm not feeling comfortable with it. But I'm gonna take the points with the Raiders here. I got a question for you as a Chiefs guy here, because there was one stat I found out about this Chiefs defense, which I will say much improved from last year. If people remember, and I'm sure the Chiefs fans watching remember, I kind of shit on the Chiefs defense before week one.
You did.
They have been much improved, but they rank right now 31st in opponent completion percentage. Why is that, and is that a concern?
No, it's honestly, like, here's why. They rank that way because in a handful of these games, it has been garbage time galore, and they've just backed up and backed up and backed up and backed up, and they've let these teams just complete everything they've wanted underneath. If you strip out, I actually went and did this. If you strip out drives where the Chiefs are up by double digits and it's in the fourth quarter, like the Chiefs defense all of a sudden is like 8th in yards per play, and they're like 4th in the league and a million other statistics. Like all of a sudden the Chiefs defense is like top 10 in every single category. Like, now it's got to be said, I shouldn't say every team. There other teams have garbage time as well. So it's not just this like, oh, if you strip all this out, then the Chiefs, like, no, you got to factor all the other stuff in. I get that. But it does not concern me. I mean, the Chiefs really, if you look at these games, like they completely shut down Kyler Murray. Murray did nothing in that game. It's 7 points until it was 37-7.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything against anyone this year, though.
Right. Matt Ryan was atrocious, even though the Chiefs somehow found a way to lose that game. I mean, my God. That game, by the way, deserves a 30 for 30. How the fuck do you lose to that team? But that's neither here nor there. Man. I mean, so there's part of that. And then the other part of it was the other two guys are Herbert and Brady. So, like, I mean, and really, to be fair to the Chiefs, actually played really well against Herbert. I mean, they held him down, and they had a drive at the end, and God bless him. Herbert, that's one of the most unbelievable drives I've ever seen, in as much pain as he was in. But no, I think, look, I'm taking the Chiefs to cover this spread. Here's my rationale for it. It's an interesting spread, and I can understand why somebody would take the Raiders' position on this, right? It's a divisional game. The Raiders, I think, are better than their record. I don't think they're great, but I think they're like a 500 team. So I get it. Like, it's not a crazy take to go the other way here. I had the Chiefs winning by like 11 points. I think it's like 34-23. So it's not nuts. Mahomes has played against the Raiders 8 times in his career. He is averaging the Chiefs are averaging 37.4 points a game. Averaging. So, like, if they score 35 against the Raiders, it's a down game. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, Carr has been brutal in his career against the Chiefs. He's 3-15. And the Chiefs have traditionally just pounded on him. Spagnuolo has no fear of him. They just blitz the hell out of him. The Raiders can't block. I think this is a bad spot for the Raiders for 2 reasons. One is, okay, so here's another stat real quick. Mahomes, in the last 17 primetime games he's played in, regular season, he is 15-2. He's thrown for 4,800 yards, 38 touchdowns, and 9 picks. Like, he's God in cleats in prime time. The other problem the Raiders have, even though the Chiefs are coming off a big win, it's still fresh in their minds how bad they were against the Colts. So I think it's one of those things where, like, you get the confidence factor, but you also get, like, we can't play like that again factor. Look, I think the Raiders hang around to an extent in this game. And then I think, like, in the third quarter, it just becomes one of these, like, okay, the Chiefs are just going to pull away now. I like the Chiefs to cover. Not a crazy bet to go Raiders plus 7.5. Like, could they lose by 6 or 7? Sure. I'd be shocked if the Chiefs lost the game outright. I think they will win. I think they will cover. And then next week it's Chiefs Bills, and that'll be a game in a season unto itself.
If the Chiefs allow a ton of completions when they're up by 2 scores, then to me that smells like a backdoor cover for the Raiders.
That's fair. That's a fair. No, absolutely. That's fair. You're right. I mean, my opinion on this game is I think it's going to be about 34-16, and I think the Raiders are just going to score a touchdown, and then it'll be. But you're right. If you think it's going to be close, like if you think that the game is going to be 31-17, 31-20, like, and you think the Raiders are going to get then yeah, I think you're right on.
I'm going to say a 31-24 for the Chiefs.
Okay, there you go. Like, so you get the back door in there. Like, yeah, the Chiefs, absolutely. That is one thing about them defensively. if they're winning by a couple, they will absolutely trade time for points. They don't care because they figure they have Mahomes will just score again if they need to. Like they'll just back up and back up. The one thing that was interesting last week was anytime the Bucs had the ball and were only down 2 scores, they couldn't do anything. If you go back and look at the drive charts, anytime they were within 2 scores and had the football, they could not move the ball for an inch at the punt. But in any event, look, we got to go because it is coming down to it. 5 minutes to kickoff here. My God, on CBS locally, I'm getting Steelers Bills. Thank God for the ticket. All right, we're going to go. Thank you so much for watching us here on the NFL Week 5 Sunday pregame show here on Stacking the Box. Stacking the Box will be back on Tuesday at noon Eastern, 11 Central. Myself, Sterling Holmes, to break down all of the action in the week that was. And, of course, if you're a Chiefs fan, I'll be on the Arrowhead Addict podcast tomorrow night, pregame, halftime, postgame, all the rest of it as we cover the Chiefs and the Raiders, one of the best rivalries in the NFL. All right, for Iain MacMillan, I am Matt Verderame. Good luck to your team this week. Go Birds, says MacMillan. We'll see how it plays out. Good luck. We'll talk to you soon.